In the dead of night, the moon was glowing, illuminating the scene, as if telling a story of its own. Young Kwesi lay restless, the chaotic and unsettling voices piercing the silence. A man's thunderous roar clashed with a woman's pleas, desperate not to wake the neighbors. Curiosity and fear made Kwesi to crawl towards the noise. His heart pounded as he peeked around the corner, eyes widening in horror. His father, towering and dangerously, brought his fist down, with brutal force, upon his mother's face. Her eyes, wide with shock, locked into Kwesi's. "Go back to bed," she whispered to Kwesi, her voice trembling. But Kwesi couldn't move. He stood there paralyzed, his gaze shifting to his father. Then, something dark and sinister came out of his father. It slithered toward Kwesi, its voice, a chilling whisper. "Do you want to play?" it said to Kwesi. Terror seized him. Kwesi crawled back to his room fast, hiding under his blanket. His small body shaking as he tried to hide from the nightmare that had just begun. In a serene village, nestled in the heart of Africa, there lived a man named Kwesi. Kwesi was known for his warm smile, hard-working nature, and the love he showered upon his family. He had a beautiful wife, Amma, and 2 children, Abina and Benna. Their life was simple, but filled with joy and laughter. One fateful day, Kwesi wasn't feeling good because his debtors were refusing to pay him. He visited his friend, Kofi, who took him to the local shebeen. They chatted and laughed for hours. Kofi introduced Kwesi to the local traditional brew. Kwesi was reluctant at first, but later drank to please his friend. As the night went on, he found himself enjoying this new drink. He arrived home late, sneaking inside to avoid waking his wife. However, Alma was waiting for him. She had never seen Kwesi in such a state and was worried. He just apologized and went to sleep. Kwesi found himself returning to the shebeen frequently. His love for the beer grew stronger. He started neglecting his family, spending all the money on alcohol. The laughter that once filled their home was replaced with silence and sorrow. Alma watched helplessly as her husband transformed before her eyes. Kwesi's business began to suffer as well. One night, as Kwesi stumbled home from the shebeen, he found Alma waiting for him in the living room. An argument erupted between them, their voices rising in anger. In a moment of rage, Kwesi raised his fist to strike Alma. Suddenly, their youngest child, Benna, appeared, witnessing the scene. Kwesi froze, memories flooding back to him. He remembered his own childhood, watching his father beat his mother. He saw a beast emerging from his father, a beast that had followed him, waiting to enter his body. In that moment, Kwesi realized the demon that had consumed his father was now inside him, threatening to destroy his family. Overwhelmed, Kwesi ran into the night, desperate to escape the demon within. He found himself at the home of a spiritual healer named Yaya. Seeing the torment in Kwesi's eyes, Yaya decided to help him confront his fear. "To reach the heavens, you must first go through the hellfire," Yaya said cryptically, instructing Kwesi to rest. The next morning, Yaya created a circle of fire and gave Kwesi some herbs to drink. Terrified, Kwesi stepped into the circle. As the heat intensified, he began to sweat profusely, his face pale and dehydrated. He begged Yaya for water, but Yaya replied, "There is no water in hell." Kwesi started having delusions. He saw his father approaching, and anger surged through him. "You killed my mother, you monster," he shouted at the shadow of his father. He fought the apparition fiercely, falling repeatedly but refusing to give up. Exhausted, he finally sat down, and his father's shadow sat beside him. They remained silent for hours, Kwesi's anger slowly subsiding. Then, his mother's shadow appeared. Kwesi knelt and begged for forgiveness. "Mother, I failed to protect you. I'm so sorry. I was helpless against his abuse." His mother hugged him, telling him it wasn't his fault and to stop tormenting himself with lies. Overwhelmed, Kwesi fainted from the heat. He woke up in a bed, with Yaya giving him water. "You must prepare to face your demon," Yaya said. The next morning, Yaya took Kwesi to a dark cave. They sat on a large stone, and Yaya rolled a cigarette, inhaling deeply before blowing the smoke towards Kwesi. Instantly, Kwesi felt himself falling into a bottomless pit. As he fell, he heard Yaya's voice, "Take control of your thoughts." Struggling to understand, Kwesi fought against the fall, making it more burdensome. Finally, he lost all strength and stopped fighting. He began to float, feeling immense relief as his mind quieted. When he opened his eyes, he was back on the stone with Yaya. They returned to the hut, Kwesi feeling lighter and happier. The following day, Yaya gave Kwesi more herbs. As he sat on the bed, he saw a beast emerging. Terrified, he held himself back and stared at the beast. The beast grew angry and tried to attack, but Kwesi remained calm, looking it straight in the eye. After a long standoff, the beast transformed into his father. Kwesi shook his father's hand and nodded. The beast then turned into Kwesi's younger self. Kwesi hugged his younger self tightly until the apparition disappeared. Kwesi began to heal, rebuilding his life and apologizing to his wife and children. It was not an easy journey, but years passed, and Kwesi emerged victorious. He had faced his demon and won. The village celebrated his triumph, and Kwesi became a beacon of hope for those struggling with addiction. His story, filled with suspense and redemption, became a folktale, inspiring and healing those who heard it. It reminded everyone that no matter how dark the path, there is always a way to the light.